Well, yeah, there was Mendel. He lived on a kibbutz, and he took care of all the farm animals. And so one day he went and I'm just telling you this story because actually, a rabbi friend of mine told this to me a few days ago, actually. I thought it was a very good story and illustrated a lot. Reason being also is because, pretty much just about any of you who are out there could also be up here talking about a lot of this stuff and saying extremely wonderful and wise and intelligent and thought-provoking things. We just happen to be sitting up here by default.
Right on.
What'd you say?
I said right on.
Yeah, right on. Anyway, so Mendel goes to the big Kabbalah scholar and he says, Rebbe, can you tell me, deers, they're fairly big animals, but they have such small feces, why is that? I said, I don't know. Elephants, huge, you see huge, feces. How's that so? What's the difference? I don't know. He goes through about 20 different farm animals and he says, this feces and that feces and this animal is big, but he has small feces. This animal is small, but it's got like huge feces. Every time, the rabbi says, I don't know. Finally, Mendel says, Rabbi, here you don't know about shit, but you're telling us about God. Take everything we say with a grain of, feces or salt. Anyway, I like that story. So, okay, so I'm just giving you a summation, right? Based on a bunch of things that have been said already, and then we'll get to Svadhyaya to close it off. Basically, we have our minds, and our minds have grooves that they follow, and the mind has been likened to a record. Everyone remembers what records are? LPs, long-playing records, made out of wax. And you have an LP, you put the needle down on the record, and it follows a groove. And it keeps following that groove until it gets to the end of the record. And then it gets to the end, you pick it up and you start again, and it follows the same groove. And our mind is basically like a record where we have these grooves that we follow, that we think along. And this is called a samskara. The samskara comes from a past impression. So something happens to us in our life, or in a past life, or wherever, in the time of creation, we don't know. And this groove is established. We don't remember a lot of the things that have happened that have formed the grooves in our mind, but somehow they're there. For example, I have this habit where in the morning time, I like to watch how the sunlight plays off of the sides of the buildings in the city. So when the sun is coming up and you see the reflected light, it's quite pretty. And even in the afternoon, sometimes when Jocelyn and I are walking, I'll notice how the light is reflecting off of the buildings. We don't have mountains in New York, so we just use the buildings by proxy. And this is something that I do almost every day when I watch the sun come up when I'm teaching, or supposed to be teaching. And last week, right after the sun had come up, I got a text from my mom, and she said, "Did you see how pink the sunlight was this morning?" And actually, I had missed it that morning, and I said, "No." I texted her back. I said, "No, I missed it, but usually I watch how the light is playing off the buildings in the morning." And she texted me back and she said, "Do you remember how when you and Karen and Amanda, my sisters, were really young, you were like 3 and 4, I used to wake you up in the morning so you could watch the sunlight as it was hitting off the buildings in the city?" And I said, "No, I have no recollection of that whatsoever." And she said to me, "Well, it's funny because you were always the one who seemed to appreciate it the most." I don't know if she meant the waking up earlier than watching the sunlight. So here I had this thing that I really like to do, and I had no recollection of it. It's something that she had actually instilled in us. So we have millions and millions and millions of these impressions. Every time we have an experience, an impression is made. How we reinforce it determines how long the impression stays with us. So the impression is called a samskara. The reaction we have to it is called a vasana. So samskara, now we're going to take it as being in the past. And the vasana, which means a fragrance, and we're made up of billions and billions of fragrances. The Vasana is, was this a pleasurable or a non-pleasurable experience, and do I want to repeat it or do I want to run away from it? So if I want to repeat it, then I'm going to. If I want to run away from it, then I'm not going to repeat it. So the Vasana is always in the future. The samskara is in the past. The Vasana is how I'm reacting to this impression, and this is determining a future action. And the action, which is called karma, is always in the present moment. So we have this past impression, we have a reaction to it, which is going to determine how we want to act in the future. And this is called the karma. As soon as we act according to this impression, we set the cycle going again. Okay, this is called the vritti samskara chakra, the cycle of reinforcing the same mental impression over and over again. So all we're doing is we're recreating the record and recreating it. And we have a whole collection of LPs, thousands of them. Okay, so karma, everyone knows, means action, and it creates an equal and opposite reaction, meaning if you do one thing, then you're going to perpetuate the cycle. So if it was unpleasant, we avoid it, then every time we come against this situation and we don't act on it again, or we act in a particular way, we reinforce the samskara. Okay. Now, what happens when we decide we want to create a new cycle? When we begin to notice that we are in this complete cycle and we want to change something, it's very difficult to take away a habit or to take away a bad habit. What's much easier is to institute a new positive habit instead of trying to take away something which is annoying about our character. So what Patanjali suggests is to institute then a new habit which is going to create a new samskaric pattern within you, which will create a new positive cycle which is going to lead towards clarity of mind, understanding of who we are and how we relate to the world, and what our purpose here is. And as we reinforce this new cycle, the old habits which are clouding our consciousness and causing us to say things like, why did I do that again? Why did I say that same stupid thing again? Why do I always find myself in the same situation which is causing me, why do I always end up with the same, boss or the same boyfriend or the same girlfriend, and it's causing me suffering? So you create a new habit, you create a new pattern. So the idea of tapas, which Tim described as the process of being open to the potential for transformation, and then Svadhyaya, which I'm going to talk about now, and Ishvara Pranidhana are something called Kriya Yoga. So you read in the beginning of chapter 2, Patanjali says, Tapas Svadhyaya Ishvara Pranidhanani Kriya Yoga. So Kriya Yoga is Tapas Svadhyaya and Ishvara Pranidhana. Now, why did he say they're Kriya Yogas? Kriya also is a word which means action. He didn't say karma, he said Kriya. So karma is a word which creates another same type of reaction. Kriya is a particular kind of action which is not going to cause the same cyclical pattern. So if karma is opposed to yoga, meaning clarity of mind and concentration of mind, Kriya is a particular type of action which is not opposed to yoga, meaning it's a type of action which encourages us to be reflective and thoughtful and change our patterns and change our habits. So, tapas is largely related to the body. Svadhyaya is largely related to speech. It's traditionally thought to be the repetition of mantra, or the recitation of text, which is associated with the family lineage that you're born into. Swa means one's own. Adi means to move towards, and adhyaya means your. Svadhyaya. Swa means your own, yourself. Adhyaya means to move, and adi means firmly towards. So it means to move firmly towards yourself. Why is this recitation of text? Because the texts that you're talking about all refer to self-knowledge. They're all texts that have to do with the nature of the self. So by reciting them again and again and again, or by repeating your mantra again and again and again, you're creating a new samskar pattern within your consciousness, which will then begin to replace bad habits. It's also said to be self-study, where you begin to examine the way that you speak to people, the way you speak internally to yourself, how your actions are reflecting in the world, etc., etc. Within yoga, the practice we're doing, Guruji has, how many seconds do I have? 7? 7 seconds. 3. The Guruji spoke about something called Tristana, right? Which are the 3 places of action within yoga. This is your body, your breathing, and the drishti, where you're looking. So roughly your position of the body, the asanas, can relate to tapas, and Svadhyaya, which is predicated on speech. You can't speak without breathing, so Svadhyaya is roughly linked with the process of breathing in the practice. And Ishvara Pranidhana, since Nancy's not here, I'll cover that one. Ishvara Pranidhana is related to where you're placing your mind. Okay? Where are you placing your mind? So ideally and ultimately you're placing your mind in Ishvara, or the principle of seeing, principle of pure consciousness. Svadhyaya, which is related to self-study and changing and instituting new habits. Then we take Ishvara Pranidhana, which means surrender to or perfect alignment with the seer within. Has to do with the principle of the unknown. So if we have samskara, Lily was texting me, we're going to eat lunch. Okay, we are too. Samskara relates to the past. Vasana relates to the future. Karma is your action in the present, which creates a new cycle. And Ishvara Pranidhana relates to surrendering to the unknown, because the principle of Ishvara, of this absolute nature of the universe, is completely unknown to us. Like, we can talk about it and we can talk our ways around it, but we don't really know it because it stands outside of the mind. And everything that we're doing with our communication only is within the realm of things that can be measured. Ishvara can't be measured. So Ishvara Pranidhana is surrender to the unknown, to giving into that where we don't really know what's going to happen. We don't really know what it's all about. And in that there can be a great relaxation, because the pressure is then taken off of our plates. Okay, so this is the ultimate thing which takes us out of the vritti samskara chakra, this cycle, surrender to the unknown, and to being open and present to whatever might happen next. In this case, I believe it's going to be lunch.